You're back now.
I'm back and wow. Okay. I thought my connection was more stable than that, but are we all good? Do you hear me now? See me? Okay. Ainsworth. If you have your copy, join me on page 121, please. The 4 parts of unwrapping. And oh, by the way, this is something that if your teachers are not doing it at your school, whenever we get back to school, or I guess this is something they could do virtually too. If you have a PLC for 4th grade or 7th grade or Algebra 1, and they're all teaching and working together on the same content, lessons, content, creating common formative assessments. If they haven't done work like unwrapping the standards, it can be really powerful stuff. And I hope after you go through the experience, if you haven't done it before, you will learn that unwrapping can be powerful. Okay, so you're going to unwrap the standard and you're going to create a graphic organizer. In just a few minutes, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and that you're going to do this in groups of 2 or 3. And unwrap, part 1. I'm in the middle of page 121. Join me if you can. This is a deconstruction step of the process. Read carefully each priority standard. So what are we talking about? In superintendent standard, it is, superintendent set high standards for professional practice. Is the 3 lines at the top, right? That's the actual standard. You're going to read the standard. You're going to analyze the wording in each one to identify embedded concepts and skills. Concepts are important nouns. So this is your language arts study. Concepts are nouns or noun phrases, and skills are verbs. To unwrap, you're going to underline nouns or noun phrases that represent teachable concepts and circle verbs that represent what students and or candidates learning to be superintendents. Verbs represent what you're to do. You're going to underline nouns, noun phrases, and try to circle verbs. Now, sometimes in verb phrases, they throw more nouns, but anyway. So think about that. So right now, we're not worrying about the proficient, emerging, developing. That's going to be important later when you're self-assessing. But that first top 3 lines, that's your standard. And then it breaks it down into focus on teaching and learning, but it's just focus on the standard. Okay, everybody get page 121, what you're going to do in just a minute. That's your process. That's your explanation. If you turn over to 122 and 123, you can see examples of, well, there's the, what do you call that? The concept, concepts are laid out in terms, and then the concept map, the graphic organizer on page 123. You're going to create a graphic organizer in your group too. So you're going to underline and circle, and then you're going to create a graphic organizer. Join me on 124, please. So here's the process for part 2, the graphic organizer. You're going to have about 20 minutes to do all this stuff, so I hope that'll work. With the teachable concepts and skills from the priority standards, so the parts that you underline and circle, use all of the above to create a graphic organizer of your own choosing, a list or a concept map, an outline, a bulleted list or a concept map, a bubble map, double bubble map, and you might want to have the skills as capital letters and the teachable concepts underlined or not. And when we're talking about superintendent standards, sometimes skills represent who or what in my mind, like superintendents do this. So whether it's a skill or a person or the what, but what are you going to do and how are you going to do it, kind of? Okay. Ainsworth, page 121 to 24. Superintendent standard, printed or electronic copy. Are we clear about what you're going to do when you go into your groups? Give me a thumbs up if you understand what you're supposed to do. And you can also use the reaction. Thank you. Okay. Here we go into breakout rooms. Again, for this whole unwrapping activity, which you're going to break out and work together in your group, then we're going to come back and you're going to share your 3 versions. So I'm going to ask you to pick someone to present from your group. And again, you might be just 2, so however you, rocks, paper, scissors, however you choose who's going to lead, and someone's going to present. You're going to work together in your groups about 20 minutes. I'm going to bring you back together. I'm picturing 3 round robin 10-minute versions of sharing, and then a whole group comparison of similarities and differences, same and different. And all of this protocol, I think, is here. Review Ainsworth, work in assigned group to break out presenters, create a graphic organizer, choose a presenter, presenters share graphic organizers, whole group discussion, similarities, differences, debrief the learning process. What did you learn from unwrapping? How did it help your understanding? And again, this is going to be a preview of the self-assessment activity you're going to do in about an hour. Okay. Here we go, group degroup. You now should have gotten an invitation to join a room, and if you will accept, you'll go into your breakouts, and I'm going to pop in and out. I'm going to mute myself and say goodbye. There you go.
I didn't get an invitation.
Sorry, Vera, group 1. Thank you.
Invite.
I think Vera got a late invite. I see her there now. Vera, are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
Hey,
Hello.
I'll bug out. I'll
right.
pop back in if you got any questions. Okay.
Okay. Do you see it yet, Tina? Before I share it with Vera.
Hold on.
Hey there.
Hey guys, I just wanted to pop in and see if you're clear and have everything that you need.
It's just the 3 top sentences where it says superintendent set high standards.
Yes.
Just that. Okay.
Yeah. Talk about what gets unwrapped and who gets underlined and who gets circled. What are the nouns? What are the verbs? What are superintendents supposed to do? You got 20 minutes for this activity. It's not going to take you that long. But create a graphic that you can share, a graphic organizer with the big ideas.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just from essentially what's the summary of the standard.
Kind of like the example that's on
3
page.
parts. See if you get 3 parts. I'll see you later. You're on top of it. We'll be back together again at about 10:30, I think.
All right. You there, Lisa?
Yeah.
All right.
They create. So create would be a verb. Dr. Palermo, Renita's having a hard time seeing the pop-up. So she's not able to unmute herself or see us right now. We see her, but she can't and she can hear us.
You can hear us, Renita, but you can't see us, right?
Renita, you're muted right now, and
We just
your
lost the
video
pic-
is stopped. But
Okay,
Oh,
I can, I'm here. Let me go back to my video. Okay, all right. I don't know what happened.
I don't always understand stuff in Zoom either. But you're there now. Y'all understand the expectation, what you're supposed to be doing?
well, to start with, just to circle the verbs and then the noun, underline the concepts or the noun phrases in that first standard.
In the first 3 lines, I got three big ideas. So see if you get 3 big ideas, and then talk about those, agree on what those are, and then create a bubble map or some sort of concept map to describe the standard.
Okay.
Okay.
Pick somebody to present, and I think we'll be back together around 10:30.
All right. Sounds
I'll
good.
pop back in, but you can chat and ask me a question anytime, and I'll try to help.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Renita, did you get yours too? You have yours?
Yeah, I have my copy.
Why yours look different than ours, Renita? Which one do you have?
Decide to sort of put them side by side.
Yeah. Don't worry, Vera. We'll talk through it because I gotta figure out. I'm gonna just pull mine up on the laptop. So are we just?
Talk through it. It's the top 3 sentences. I got 3 big ideas. See if you get 3 big ideas from those first 3 lines.
All right.
You mean A?
Superintendents
set
high standards. Just those first 3 lines. Top. That's your standard, and I got 3 big ideas out of that. But see what y'all talk. Each look at it and then talk and see if you get the same. And then from that, try to create a graphic, a bubble map or something of those 3 big ideas.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that
All right,
pretty
gotcha.
clear?
Yes.
Yep.
Pick somebody to
picture of
present.
it, so I'm reading it off my phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up on my iPad real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
And Vera, do you have it?
I do, but I can't. I'm trying to get both of them side by side, but it's like when I click on one will disappear. So,
Okay.
but I do have it. Superintendent Standard 2.
Superintendent set high standards for professional practice of 21st century instruction. Is Tina, you have it too?
Yeah, I took a picture. I have it. I can pull it up because I have it minimized. But I also took a picture of it on my phone so I could just be able to keep everything up.
So Palermo,
Yeah.
you want us to break down the 3 sentences, break them down one at a time?
That's it, basically.
Okay.
And create a
So
bubble map telling us.
Okay, and I'll share with you what we're starting on, just to make sure we're in the right direction. What's your email address, Dr. Palermo? It's jpalermo
at GardnerWeb.edu.
at Gardner.
Gardner-WEBB. .edu.
Okay, so before you can even get in and see what we're working on, you might have to request permission, and then it might have you to install an extension. It'll take like seconds to do, and then you'll kind of see. Yeah. So right here, for each of the ones on the outside, ladies, where you see like marketing and embassy and all of that, do we want to just copy and paste the 3 sentences there and then just make like other arrows, the other arrows sticking out, just break it down that way?
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like
you can erase the words that's already there and maybe, hold on, let me paste this third one over here real quick.
Okay.
All right, hold on. I gotta make this big enough to, but yeah, all of this you can move around and change and stuff. Nothing is permanent here. I can't even make this bigger. Yeah, so it's not perfect, but it's okay. We can just kind of move it around. I do kind of want this sidebar to go out the way. I don't know how to get rid of it. Oh, okay.
Do you see my screen?
I do.
Are you still looking for the standard?
No, we have it. We're
Yeah, we got
pasting
it.
it into the diagram
Okay.
that we're working on together.
Okay. Well, I can't see that, but I'll turn my desktop over to you when it's time, and we'll practice sharing that stuff.
Okay, and I did share, I shared the link with you. If you look in your email, Dr. Palermo, you'll
right.
see where I shared a document with you. You might have to ask for permissions, and as soon as I hear the email bling, I'll give you permissions. You'll install the extension. It's real easy. Just click the button, and then you'll be able to open it up and jump in with us. Then you can actually see what we're doing and make sure we're on the right track.
I'll check your email. I'll check my email. Okay.
Okay.
So Shonda, you're gonna.
Ago, and we're talking about you right now, and he's talking about your 20-page. So what you did for Part C was, I guess, sufficient.
Yeah, and so I have some. He provided me, well, he is in the room, but he provided me some feedback for that. I'm gonna have to go in and make some changes with. But yeah, I have what I think is a good start on C. You want me to send it to you?
Yeah, just so I can look at it. I just feel like I'm pulling way too much, and I don't know if it's my type A. I don't know if it's my elementary background where I'm teaching, and I just feel like everything in the world needs to be included. And so I'm trying to bring it back, and that's where I'm struggling more with Part C than I did Part A and B. And it's just because of I know what's out there, I know what's important. And then there's stuff that's out there, but I'm not using, but I need to mention it. You know what I'm saying is what I feel like. So I can't get the balance.
What's your email?
Delisa.moore@stokes.k12.nc.us. That's the one I constantly check.
All right. Yeah, I'll send it to you in just a second.
Okay.
I need to come up with another analogy and metaphor, but we don't need a maxi skirt here, Lisa. You know, even a mini might work, but cover the waterfront in terms of a broad description of curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and don't go in depth. You know, if you're at 20 pages or more, you're starting to go too long. So
well, that's what I'm not even like through, and I already have 20 pages, and I'm not even like halfway through it. That's what I'm saying. I'm beating myself up over it, and I just can't seem to, you know, move on. But if I can see a sample, I guess, like John's going to send me his, if I can just look at it and kind of briefly see it,
Good.
then it will kind of.
Now, hold on. Let's be clear. Dr. Palermo, he sent several suggestions for edits, but I think the start of what I have is okay. So
well, I did the same thing for Tina.
Yeah,
needed my part A, and it needed work, but I sent it to her to give her an idea. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing, John. It's not perfect, but it's a good start. And listen, as far as this assignment, do you have a graphic that you'll be ready to share?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
we're ready.
I'm going to bug out. You got another 5 minutes. Others are struggling with this.
All right.
Oh, maybe we made it too simple.
Well, we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, we'll try.
Very sorry.
She has cancer. You know, she was 43. She had cancer.
Oh.
And we knew Monday when they called in hospice that, you know, it was coming to an end. I just didn't expect it to be this soon.
That soon.
By the time I got home yesterday, I was talking to Shonda, going over some stuff for a presentation, and they had called me to come to the hospital. So when I got there, she was laboring to breathe. So I went back where she was. And one thing, a burden, I ain't gonna say a burden that she put on me. She got three children, 25, 19. He's at North Carolina Central, and her baby is at a rising freshman. And she asked me, she says, whatever you do, I want you to make sure that Josh finished school. And so I promised her that I would.
Yeah.
After this, Dr. Palermo, I was telling them, I told Renita, I sent stuff to her and Shonda. I'm going to slip out because they're the children at my house.
Yes.
My wife texted me a few moments ago, so you might need to come home because the baby girl has locked herself in the bathroom and won't come out.
Yeah. We got
Tony,
you.
You do what you need to do, man. Take care of yourself and your family. I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm glad you were able to be with your aunt at the end. That's a blessing.
So, Doc, I'm gonna go ahead and just slide out because I'm getting emotional, and I don't.
Yeah.
Tony, take care of yourself.
I love you well, man.
Tony.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you. Prayers for your whole family.
Thank you.
And the rest of us try to carry on in the midst of
Yes,
this craziness.
And he's contributed to the presentation, so we'll just go through his part.
Great. I was going to reconvene us at about 10:30. Will that work for y'all?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, couple minutes.
Can we? You don't have to tell us, but we're curious to know what 3 main points you had. Was it set, create, and ensure?
Yeah. And think, I said, you said ensure, I said hold people accountable, you know. So our language is gonna differ, but we're all gonna have the same stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And I hope, again, that the differing language will give us something to talk about. Cool.
Dr. Palermo, this one, I couldn't print what you sent, but I had this from first semester in a notebook. Do you know why mine may be? It still says 2010 on the bottom, but
pretty sure it's the same.
Okay, so it just looked a little different than yours and Renita, so I didn't know if it was adjusting.
Yeah, I had an old paper copy that I scanned because I couldn't find it online. I don't know.
One more thing, Palermo. You said holding people accountable. We did have result as one of our verbs, and then an accountable environment, but we didn't know if the word result was the verb that we should have been using.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
The most important part about this activity is talking about it.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, you know, when we hold people accountable, does that mean ensure high results? You know, the talking about it is the important part. So.
Okay.
Anyway.
Good deal.
Yeah. I'm going to pop out, check back on group 1, and you should see a note when we're ready to reconvene.
So it pops up on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Around with arrows too much now because we want to make sure we at least have the nouns in there when by the time is up.
Yeah.
That result.
Okay, so I'm being clear on this. I'm looking at, they set specific achievements targets to school and students to ensure consistent use of research-based instructional strategies.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're outlining what the main things are that we're doing there. Like, for example, look at the standard I have. Superintendent sets high standards for professional practice, blah, 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 blah. So what I'm putting as the nouns that's important for us to focus on, that's an important part of this standard, is I got to know the standards for professional practice. What is 21st century instruction? What's 21st century assessment? Accountable environment. It's like I got to know what all of that looks like in order for me to be able to do this part of the standard. You're doing the same thing with your standard. So what are the nouns that you're going to, have to know in order to be able to be successful at this standard? So all we're doing is unpacking it and breaking it down even more as to what each of these may actually mean.
Okay. So
just like you do a learning, you're breaking it down just like you do a learning, like you would do a learning objective.
Okay, so like for instance, specific achievements, right?
What's that?
The first one would be specific achievement.
So you could drag a circle over and type in achievement targets for schools, and and then one might.
Ladies, how are you doing?
Hey, how you doing? We're inside working on our graphic organizer now.
Okay.
Just trying to unpack what each part of this standard is saying. What we would need to be knowledgeable of those nouns that are within each of those standards.
How close are you?
Just about. I know we're just about there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have something from Tina, but I don't see an email from you, Shonda.
Did you send him something?
I sent you something, but that wasn't pertaining to this.
No.
You said, what is your email address again, Palermo? I thought I sent it.
JPalermo at
GardnerWeb.edu.
Make sure it's -web.edu.
Yeah, let me send it to you.
Okay.
It said, so I'm going to send with no sign in. I'll send it to you. And I'm going to just share the link with you too, and another one in case that doesn't show up, just so you can kind of see where we're going.
Okay.
We're almost done though. We just got one more of the standard to kind of break down. They're just learning how to use this graphic organizer extension.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you the link so you can just click on it and view. Give me a second.
Okay. And I will tell you that I did this, but I did not do anything fancy. And honestly, there is my little thingy. You've got a fancy version on top. You got a plain version on the bottom.
Yeah, that's kind of what ours looks like.
Okay.
We're just electronically, since we can't draw together.
Okay. That's great.
But you'll see it. I sent it to you in another email too, and you'll see that we're doing the same exact thing. It's just taking a minute because we had to get into the graphic organizer. Everyone would know how to use it. It's not fancy.
Okay.
So Vera, I'm just putting the circles here so we can go on and add the nouns for this third one right here.
Well,
and then the more we can break it down, it's okay. Let's just talk through it because I know sounds like we might be going back to the group soon. So I know we got to get done. So like, for example, here, they set specific achievement targets. So what you're going to need to know are what are the achievement targets What are the achievement targets?
Subject or not. And so that was making it long too. So now that I know, you know, what Dr. Palermo said earlier, that then it wouldn't be that bad either. So.
I wonder where everyone is right now.
Well, Renita's here and Lisa D are back, and Dr. Palermo's back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to find the better version of that though, the one he actually gave me the feedback on.
Let me know. I save stuff, so if you don't have it, I probably got it saved somewhere. If you send it in a Word document, and I think you have been sending Word documents. Yeah. Group 1 is taking a little bit longer. They had some struggles with electronic graphic organizers, so I think they'll be back with us in a couple of minutes. So.
Here's mine.
Yeah. Here's.
Okay. I was thinking, Lisa, we were supposed to do it electronically.
Shonda's working on hers and should be able to share it with us. I think. I might. Well, anyway, I've got mine, but I'm not gonna hop in there ahead of you. Let me practice sharing though till we get the whole group back. Managing participants. Okay, who is going to who is going to talk from the John and Lisa Moore group?
Either one. John, do you want to do it or you want me to?
You were supposed to pick a presenter.
We did.
We were talking other stuff. It was important.
Yeah.
You got it, at least.
Okay, I'll do it.
And I'm going to practice. Well, I can make you a co-host. Oh. So Lisa, you should be a co-host. And does that change your controls? Can you share the screen now with me? Do you have a green share screen tab at the bottom?
I do, but I don't have anything electronically. We did it on paper.
Right. Okay. I was just
but yes, I do have a green share.
Okay.
And a little security thing came up.
Security?
Yeah, a security symbol came up. Do you know that there have been a lot of security issues with Zoom? That's why we're not allowed to use it in Stokes County.
People getting Zoom bombed in meetings. Yeah, I've heard about it, but
well, they're allowed to record your meetings and send them out and make them public as well. Or like your recorded meetings, they can make them public.
Well, I actually do make mine public, but to make them easier to access, I think. But I can't imagine who would want to pop into our class meeting.
So what Durham had us do, Dr. Palermo, is we had to set our settings for all of our Zooms where we enable the waiting room, and you have to have a district email to join. So like you have to use your district provider email, and there's a waiting room, and you don't go directly into the meeting. You go into the waiting room, and then the host of the meeting can go in and see who it is trying to join, and then they can add you in or not. And then we also can't use Zoom for any meetings related to personnel decisions, finance decisions, because those are recorded and confidential, but we can do Zooms just for like general meetings.
Yeah. How about, sorry?
Are you allowed to use Zoom with the students?
Yeah, we can use Zoom for students with parent permission, and of course, and I'm elementary, so it's different. But yeah, we can use Zoom for students for instructional purposes and check-ins and things like that. But just from that same perspective, it just the teachers have to set it up where they have them in a waiting room. They mute upon entry. And they have to have the control where if anything goes off, they immediately exit the Zoom session. But we haven't had any issues so far.
No. And there's also a way that you can specify that participants cannot share their screen. So I think a lot of the Zoom bombing, people were just taking over the screens.
Oh, okay. We just had to shut down our Zoom and do Google Meet instead because Google Meet was supposed to be safer.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
I think for the district meetings, they're moving us to a different platform, and I think Google Meet is what I heard. But
yes, that's right.
Yeah, but for just our general meetings we do in classroom, they haven't completely told us that we don't use Zoom. They just put those priorities in place that we have to, like we have to enable the waiting room. It has to be a DPS email when you're doing those meetings. So.
Okay, so you guys have a little more flexibility than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder about legal meetings like IEPs. Could you do that via Zoom?
Well,
we've been doing them on Google Meet.
Yeah, they've been doing. We haven't done any IEP meetings on Zoom. Mm-mm.
Interesting.
So they've done, phone conferences and different things like that.
More with the phone conferences at my school, because they're still even, because of what happened with Zoom, they're afraid even to meet with Google Meet. And then with Google Meet, you don't know who's in the room, and really, if they're on the phone, you don't know who's in the room either. But at least if they're on the phone, they don't have to put it on speakerphone, and they can keep it. You can keep it kind of private on the phone. But really, we just had our meetings this week to give us updates on IEPs, and we're basically not doing many IEPs at all. And so we'll be out of compliance, at the beginning of next year, but because we just have to mark it that it was during this coronavirus stay-at-home order.
The state school board is meeting, and I think they're going to come back with waves for lots of stuff. But I think they're just going to have to waive lots of IEP requirements as well.
I said
hey.
Hello.
The next part of this activity was to do a round robin of the three groups and compare our graphic organizers. The graphic organizers that you've created to simplify and capture the big ideas from this superintendent instructional leadership standard. Is there a volunteer to go first to share your graphic? And Lisa, I just made you a co-host, so do you want to take over?
Okay, mine is not very beautiful, but
can you go more screen?
John and I did was we put instructional leadership in.
Can you go bigger?
Let me.
In the speaker view, top right hand
corner. How to do that? Okay. Can you see me? I see you full screen. Full screen?
I think Dr. Palermo, we have to do it, and we can see her screen like on our end. So I think all of us have to go into that view and do speaker view, and then she'll pop up larger for all of us to see.
Okay.
All right. Don't look at how frizzy my hair is. All right. Are you ready? So we just had instructional leadership. We felt like that was the topic, or that's the name of the standard. And then the skill that the superintendent would need to do.
Not very clear,
is we
Lisa.
have to set high standards. It's not. Would it just be easier for me just to say it? Because I don't know if they'll all be pretty similar. But it's set high standards of professional practice of instruction and assessment, And then we had another leg that would create PLCs. And then again, we had set achievement targets, and then ensure research-based instructional strategies. So we were looking at those words of, again, the setting, creating, setting achievements, and then ensuring, so the research-based instructional strategies that a superintendent is responsible for within all of the schools and the students obtaining those skills.
Thank you.
John, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's good.
I don't know if we simplified it too much.
Stop right there. Superintendents set high standards. Superintendents create PLCs that result in engaging instruction. Superintendents set specific targets. Let's see what the others have to say, and I predict that we're going to have some very similar kinds of results. Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Okay, Lisa?
We had, it was myself, Renita, and Tony. So I don't know if you're able to see that. It's very similar. In the center, we put standard 2, and then our actions were create, set, ensure, and we did put result, but I'm going to hold off on that one for just a second. And so we said that we would be creating professional learning communities, that we would be setting achievement targets and high standards, and we would ensure the use of research-based instructional strategies. And we did include, I'm looking at the backside, so I guess here, result, but ultimately, if you do the other 3 actions, it's going to result in having an accountable environment. So very similar.
There's a 4-legged bubble map. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. And let's see. Do you have the, do I have your share screen? All righty. Let me see. Can you all see that? Is there a graphic on your screen?
Yeah, that's not the most recent one though.
Okay. How do I get the most recent one?
If you stop sharing, I might be able to share it. Give me a second. I don't know if it can be seen or not. I got too many things on this screen.
I see a
Can you see graphic organizer?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, so, and I may have to kind of scroll around a little bit, but we have pretty much the same thing everybody else has. We just have use a graphic organizer program online that Lisa and I used one time before when we were presenting. But we just have the standard in the middle. You have the, we have the, and this is the from the first sentence. We have the action, which is set. It was set for set, and create were the biggest things from this standard. But for this first one, we're setting an accountable environments, 21st century assessment, instruction, and professional practice. And then we just started trying to branch out from that, you know, what that, trying to unpack it even more just to say, well, what is 21st century assessment? So it would branch out to like formative assessments, digital portfolios, and if we worked on it even more, you could even have even more circles from this to kind of describe each of those. 21st century, only had time to put like just a couple of those there, helping leadership and 4 C's, skills. And then Tina, you want to talk about that, the one you did right here?
me unmute myself, sorry. And then they create professional learning communities resulting in highly engaging instruction and improved student learning. So, branching out, talking about creating professional learning communities. And then, of course, you can add more to that. What would that look like? What would that include? Highly engaging instruction. And of course, you could branch out from that. What would that look like? And of course, instruction, we're talking about instructing our students. And then one of the big ones was improving student learning. And if I had more time, I would have branched out. And what would that look like?
Yeah, you could just add different things here, like close achievement gap or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Vera.
So they set specific achievement targets for schools and students and ensure the consistent use of research-based instructional strategies in all the classroom to reach the target. So we started out with achievement targets, and then the two main things that stood out to me in this was achievement targets and research-based instructional strategies, which could lead out to schools and students. So
that is a pretty fancy version. I spent time after college in northeast Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania Dutch country, the Amish people. The Amish, well, you know who the Amish are. The Amish have different sects that call themselves plain or fancy. The plain Amish are very strict, and they're the ones who ride the buggies and wagons and churn their own milk to make butter. The fancy ones might still have a horse and wagon, but they drive a car too. So anyway, this is the fancy version of the graphic organizer. Nice job, ladies. A couple of hand-drawn ones on the notebook paper earlier were the plain, but that's okay because plain or fancy can both describe what's going on here. Thanks for sharing that.
And we were just trying to show the team how, even because everything we do and how we do it is a learning experience. So how we can even use collaboration tools that are available to us now online to be able to do this type of collaborative work together when we can't be face to face.
And I learned a lot by using that. I've never used that before, so that's a new tool that I can use. So
okay,
I appreciate that.
I probably didn't give you enough time to do that kind of in-depth creation of the graphic organizer. So good job in a short period of time, ladies. Here's what I threw together, and again, all three of them are either plain or fancy versions of the same thing. Well, group 2 had 4, so I don't know. Here's my graphic, and above the double lines is the fancy version, and down below is the plain version. But superintendents set high standards. Superintendents create capacity through PLCs. Superintendents hold people accountable. That was my plain version of this. And superintendents set high standards, create PLCs, and set specific standards for schools. I guess I waffled between making it 3 or 4. I took those 3 sentences and made it into 4 big bubbles. But anyway, similarities, differences, comments about our various different unpacking graphic organizers? What do you think? I'm not going to accept silence, and I want to know.
I'll speak, Dr.
You know the superintendent standard better.
I'll speak. I think that was a good activity in being able to, like, as we prepare to be superintendents, or even when we look at the principal standards, we can go through and pull out put, circle and underline so that as a principal, I know exactly what's expected and what actions I should be doing. And then we can look at those when we move into central office roles if we aspire to do so. And kind of it could be, honestly, it could be things when you're going into doing your evaluations, you can say, here's what I set, here's what I created, here's what I worked to ensure. And so you can kind of specifically tailor the artifacts you provide during your evaluation to match right back using those words, what you said, create, ensure.
John, I think that's perfect. And using this to self-assess, to think about where you are strong and how you can grow. I think aligning your evaluation and your goal setting with the standard is perfect. Good job.
I think also for some of the people in the class that are wanting principal positions, or even those of us that are already principals and wanting to move to the county level, whether it's the superintendent or another position, knowing what the superintendent's needs are, where he needs to be marked successful by the board, is important. And those are the areas that you can look at and where you can pitch in and help out and ask them if there are needs, or show that you're exemplary in those areas, so that you can stand out to them and you are the district to the superintendent.
Do you all know the superintendent standard better now after unpacking it? Can you see that unpacking a standard could be a good activity for a group of teachers to do in their subject area about science or language arts?
Very much so.
Okay.
Because especially if you think about teachers that move to a new grade level, and you're not familiar so much with that standard. This is my first year teaching 5th grade science. So being able to know that you have something that you can kind of rely on and that you can look at, and the unpacking the standards and what we use, I mean, it gives examples, especially for math. That was very beneficial because I started the year out teaching math and that's not my thing. But being able to go to the unpacking the standards and they, clear examples of what this standard is actually saying, because you can read something all day, but that doesn't, you might not really understand what they're saying. And I'm a very visual person. So having examples and things like that, then I was able to tailor my instruction based off, what I needed to do and what that standard and what the unpacking is. It breaks it all the way down. So it's really good with teachers. And that is definitely one of the things that we use when we are planning our lessons and things like that. We have our unpacking the standards and our basing guide and all of that right there.
Thanks, Tina. That's a great example. And folks, to be instructional leaders in schools, you can bring groups of teachers together around the standards and ask them to unpack them. And it's a powerful activity, and I encourage you to do that. Let me share something else. Ooh. Now I've messed up my view. Can you all see the standard? Do you see the photo of the standard again? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Then let me figure out how to change my view so that I can see it. Okay. The next part of this, and I'm going to cut it short really fast. is the next part that I want you to think about with the standard is the rubric, is the majority of what you're looking at here. If to operationalize the standard you just unpacked, those three big ideas, they call it a focus on learning, teaching, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I hope those words are starting to rattle around your head. Curriculum, instruction, assessment. So here are the practices to be emerging, to be developing, proficient, or accomplished. I always like to think about the proficient column, but folks, you are learning to be instructional leaders. It's not expected that you're instructional leaders right now. Some of you in your building are probably proficient in some cases. So it's not expected that you're any more than emerging right now, but do you work with others to design scheduling processes that maximize learning time? John, I'll bet you do that. Do you work with others to use the results of monitoring to make adaptations to curriculum, instruction, and assessment? In other words, are you using benchmarks to adjust instruction and make things better for kids? Do you work with others to ensure that instructional time is valued and protected? You can show evidence that you do that. Do you work with others to develop appropriate rewards for and recognition? Do you have recognition assemblies, achievement assemblies? Do you work with others to develop appropriate and specific achievement targets? Yes, you set targets for your school. Do you work with others to ensure the use of appropriate and specific research-based instructional strategies? Anyway, I want you to think about, are you emerging? Maybe you're just developing an awareness of this standard, or are you actually doing some of these things in schools now? If you're a teacher or a counselor, it's not expected that you're leading others in instruction. So maybe you're an emerging candidate. Maybe as a principal leader, you already feel accomplished in some of these categories. But assessing yourself using this rubric on this standard to just go down there and check. Yeah, I do that. And I can show examples of how I do that. This is how you're going to self-assess yourself for Part D of the SIP. We'll go to the SIP in just a minute, but you're going to think about the standard. You're going to think about what you do. You're going to talk a little bit about the things that you already do well and that you're doing right now in your school. And you're going to talk about the things that you will know from this experience that you could do better. And the SIP D does not need to be long, and it does not need to be detailed. And I don't think you even have to show all that much evidence to say, I'm doing some of these things now. There's other things that I could do better. That's how I want you to use the standard to self-assess to write Part D of the SIP. Is that pretty clear? Give me a thumbs up if you get that.
I just want to clarify. You said, I mean, that's the self-assessment. What are we doing in our district now? And then what can we improve on?
Yes, you personally, okay. Tina.
Okay.
You personally. You bring a lot as an ex-instructional coach to this stuff, and in terms of instructional leadership. In your current role at your school, what's going well and that you're doing well now in terms of instructional leadership? What what's an area for you to grow? What's an area where you could improve or do differently or better? We all pretty clear about that stuff?
So, Dr. Palermo, I hate to be the person that just continues to ask the same question over and over.
Well, so Tony has had to leave us, so that's your role now.
So I just want to make, so we're in D, you shift from suggestions as a team and you move towards what can I do in whatever my current role is, what can I do to improve as an instructional leader?
If you go back to the original task stream rubric for Part D, it simply says reflection and personal growth plan. And whereas I rewrote, we rewrote parts A, B, and C, Part D is pretty much the same. It's a reflection.
Got it. Thank you.
And then you said, Okay, so after we say, areas that we can improve on, you want us to then talk about how we plan on doing that.
Tina, I don't think that's necessarily. Is this require another action plan? No.
Okay.
But for instance, if you write a PGP personally for your district, for your supervisor, you might incorporate some of this stuff in your personal growth plan. I expect the folks who are principals to pretty closely align SIP-D reflection with the areas where they want to grow as building instructional leaders. It's going to be different, and it's simply a personal reflection aligned with the standard. Personal reflection with the standard.
And how long would you think this reflection should be?
Mini skirt.
I wanted to make sure a mini skirt was appropriate.
Well, yeah, and you know what? If you address some of the stuff on here, I think that would be really good. You just decided that superintendents should set high standard, or superintendents, instructional leaders, set high standards, create professional learning communities, set specific achievement goals. Those things are not in your job description right now.
Right.
So I would come down here to the columns and say, as an emerging candidate, I'm aware of principal practices. I understand what should be done, and I'm doing some of that stuff. So maybe you let the rubric drive your narrative, but this is all a narrative at this point. 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. I don't know. Don't want the maxi skirt on part D.
Okay.
Like I said, I think you've done the heavy lifting when you're done A, B, and C. Part D ought to be gravy train.
All right. Thank
What
you.
else? Okay. And that's where I wanted to connect superintendent standards with the self-assessment. But I honestly believe that we need a break before we go ahead and do anything else. If we're at a point of closure, I'm going to suggest a 5-minute break, and see you back here in 5. Will that work? Okay.